Hi everyone, Trainthony Cartano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Ken Mode record. Success! Can't go wrong with a good Ken Mode refrigerator. Nope.
It was then that I realized that there were very few people in my life that understood me as intimately as Cal Chuchesta. Yet I knew so little about him. What was going on behind that squinty-eyed glare of his? That dumb-looking smile. And even though his presence can bring some serious aggravation to my life, I deeply loved him. God, did I love him. And I just felt, right then, the need to express it.
I wish you never came back. I wish you were still dead. Ken Mode is a Winnipeg rock trio. They have quite a few albums under their belt, and they are known for a pretty interesting and even blend of metal and punk styles in their music, just with like a touch of noise rock thrown into the mix as well. And they usually blend these two styles of music so nicely that the band over the years has attracted ears from sort of both sides of this aisle. I have liked their two previous records, Entrench in 2013, I reviewed that one, and I was impressed with this LP, so I didn't really go into this new album over here with too much in the way of expectations, just thought I might get another good to decent Ken Mode album. But this record over here, Success, actually comes with a bit of a stylistic change of pace. I could say sludge metal fans would get down with this record, but I think Ken Mode has sort of phased out the metallic and sort of refined and very fine-tuned and precise style of playing that they've executed on their past two records in favor of something just way more aggressive and chaotic and abrasive and savage. Something kind of along the lines of Unsane or Shellac or the Jesus Lizard or Fugazi. We're just piling on the names here. Flipper, the Melvins, old Swans records, as well as bands like McCluskey or Future of the Left. If Ken Mode wasn't influenced on this record by all of these bands, they were at least influenced by some of them and just share some similarities on this record with the others. If you are familiar with any of these groups, you already sort of have in your mind the visceral, just like pounding type of sound that Ken Mode is going to bring on this album. And this noisier direction they take their music in is complemented with a slightly noisier mix and production style. Something that on paper I didn't think I would have enjoyed as much as I did when I actually got my ears on this LP. Just to kind of give you an idea with this LP, the bass on this thing is just super resonant. It's overpowering. I mean, it really just sucks up the low end in the mix. The drums, there's a ton of ambient noise on the drums. Like they were, I don't know, recorded in a basement or like in some sheetrocked room or, in just like just some area with hard walls and just a lot of slap back coming through because of the very, very aggressive drum playing on here. The vocals are slightly buried and a little distant, but the riffs on this record are very chunky. There's a lot of space between some of these riffs, and the vocals make use of that space, or rather the riffs sort of make room for the vocals. I mean, if the riffs were just constantly just pounding and always making noise, you wouldn't hear just a lick of lyrics on this record. And the guitars are shrill, they're wailing, they are brittle, they're distorted, they're ear-piercing, they are punishing. Again, definitely nowhere near as cleanly assembled as their previous two records, and obviously intentional, because the direction that they move in, I would say that for the most part, Ken Mode succeeds at coming together with a more animalistic sound, with all of these hard-hitting, sort of noise rock, post-hardcore, sludge metal grooves, with pretty much just all the sounds from each instrument just bleeding into one another violently. This album is just like, the savage beating. Now, if you give this record a listen, I swear to you, the first riff that kicks this record off will destroy your life. Be careful. The guitars, the bass on this thing just have this monstrously thick, just punchy tone to them. Really very destructive. And then as far as the lyrics go, kind of in the vein of Flipper, we are getting a lot of very snide, snarky lyrics, not just on this track, but throughout the LP. And I have kind of a sneaking suspicion that this song. The lyrics on the opening track here are a little meta, with the words on here sort of being about being in a band itself, and there's a moment where the words are sung, thank you for sort of supporting what we do, or rather, thank you for humoring it, sort of our creative process, I guess, though, what we're doing shouldn't be encouraged. And there's a similar lyrical direction across the entirety of this LP, Barking Dogs. And despite being paired with just these really noisy drums and these heavy, monstrous riffs, the vocals, the way they're recorded and just kind of the distance of them and the ambient noise around them, they feel almost subtracted out of the insanity of the rest of the instrumentation on this LP. Kind of like they're naked in a way, especially during lyrical moments on this thing where it is sung, I'd like to learn to kill the nicest man in the world. And that's another thing. The vocal deliveries on this record border on insanity as well. There's something just really kind of off-kilter and just really manic about a lot of the lyrics, and the singing, the shouting, the screaming all over this record, even though it does feel like the vocal recording could have been done a little bit better. I think the kind of run and gun, rough around the edges quality of it complements the kind of completely out of your mind character that's being given to us on the vocal tracks here. So for the most part, I would say the lyrical risks on this record pay off. And there are even a few moments here and there where there are some catchy refrains worked into these incredibly savage instrumentals, like "And When We All Lose," or 36.8%. Although there are a few cuts in the track listing here, like the song Management Control, where the lyrics kind of come off like this crazy, completely unorganized rant where no one thought or word seems any more important than any other thought or word. There is a great instrumental on this track, though, and I will say that even though Ken Mode, sometimes the lyrics can be kind of unfocused and sloppy, there is an incredible amount of musical focus on this LP, and a little variety, too, that comes via songs like The Owl, which has this grimy, very, very naked bass groove to it, and some guitars that are almost very jazzy in quality, but very shrill and distorted and punky. Kind of reminds me of some Dead Kennedys, East Bay Ray, bit of a thing. And they have a song called The Owl as well. Great song. And the cello at the end of this track is a nice touch as well. Just another moment on this LP where Ken Mode comes through with a bit of depth and detail and finesse where you might not necessarily expect it, which also occurs at the tail end of the opening track on here too, where it kind of sounds like some strings, some very just manic, very tense and disturbing strings are being thrown into the hulking mess of bass and guitars that kind of end this track out in just a mess. So you have kind of these softer, more varied, more dynamic cuts. You do have your more extreme tracks on here as well, like I Just Liked Fire, which features one of the more speedy and catchy guitar lines in the entire LP. But for the most part, Ken Mode packs in this variety within a barn burner of a record that lasts just about 37 minutes, doesn't really overstay its welcome or anything like that. It's just enough variation to keep things interesting, keep things from feeling one-dimensional, which was a bit of an issue for me with Ken Mode's previous two records. I especially like the closing track on here, where the bass, the guitars actually take a bit of a softer approach, and the writing on here has this kind of depressing downward spiral quality to it, and the vocals are very, deadpan in a way, and I think are a bit Slintish. Most definitely read like something that could have come off of Spiderland for a moment there. Overall, really enjoying this record from Ken Mode, more than I thought I was going to. Not just when I went into it, because I really like Ken Mode, seen them live before, good band, but not one of my favorites. And then also the production was a little off-putting for me when I first put my ears onto this LP, but Ken Mode really came through when it came to volume, the extremity of the vocals, the extremity of the lyrics, as well as just some really catchy riffs. I feel like all the things that I liked about the band's previous records were kind of just turned up. And even though in a sense the band really kind of wears its influences on their sleeve on this LP, I think they blend them so well, or it just kind of seems like they're referencing so lightly from a myriad of different bands that it's not really all too distracting for the most part for me. And then, you know, on top of that, while Ken Mode do sort of seem to be working within a pretty established musical, you know, underground musical style on this LP, I do have to say that the animalistic, aggressive, just over-the-top delivery and performance, though, that they do on this record, that is all their own. You know, that is totally their energy, which, you know, regardless of how much referencing they're doing on this LP, is incredibly impressive, just how savage they came through as on this record. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this thing. Transition. If you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? Why the hell would you hate it? And what do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Ken Mode, forever!